from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to have you here with us. I love your outfit, by the way. What a beautiful suit. I guess if people haven't seen Acre yet, you can just give us a brief intro. What can people expect when they dive into this film?
So Acre is an English folk horror which follows a couple dealing with loss, and they are guided by an unlikely kind of shepherd through that.
And when you first read the script, what really stood out to you? Did you go back and read the source material? I mean, it's just sort of British folk horror, like seeping out of every frame from this film. What really appealed to you about the project?
Well, I could really kind of see that while reading the script that a huge part of it would be the atmosphere that was created, and I love those films that you can really, you're following the plot and that's really interesting, but also you feel so immersed in this world that's been created, and I really felt that from the script. I love the idea of nature being more powerful than us and also being cruel and kind. Yeah.
And working alongside Matt, I mean, there's so much tension bristling between this couple right from the off, and then of course they go on their separate journeys, dealing with this, this moment of grief. What was it like working alongside him?
Yeah, it was wonderful to work alongside Matt, and we were dealing with characters experiencing grief, and you always want to kind of make sure you look after each other when you're kind of dealing with heavy subjects like that. And Matt is just the loveliest actor on and off screen, and I felt really lucky to be with him artistically, but also just to be looked after by him. Yeah.
And being on these sets, I mean, the way the atmosphere is created, just even when it's like, out in the countryside, every element of the home that they're in just feels atmospheric and creepy.
Nice.
Did it feel like that when you were filming as well?
Yeah, it did actually, and we were in this incredible place, and where there were suddenly deer outside, or kind of starlings murmuring, but also kind of we did have thunder, lightning, snowstorms, 30-degree heat in spring in Yorkshire. So we felt very much kind of at the mercy of what we were trying to kind of put on screen, which was really fun.
And in terms of the takeaways, like all great contemporary horror, you can either lean into this supernatural aspect, or you can really take from it how we do deal with generational trauma, how we do deal with grief. So what do you think the takeaways might be?
It's kind of, that's something that really drew me to it, was this kind of idea of generational trauma and how those wounds kind of can keep going for generations. And I think that's something I found really, that I liked the idea of this fossil that was there, because sometimes I think lots of our grief is just fossilized and we don't know how to work through it when it's kind of, that seems impenetrable. But I think, like with all the horrors I like to imagine the opposite world. So in one world they were helped, things were different, they talked, and horrors that show me through the darkness the possibility of light in the world are what I love, and I hope that's people's takeaway from this. Experiencing a lot of grief, but they're also family alone. They are unsupported and they're isolated, and we kind of follow them as they try to kind of survive post a terrible experience. And they search for guidance in a kind of empty place, really, that nobody's coming to their aid, so they have to search for it. And someone does come to help them through it, but it's not the right person. I mean, Matt, I just think, is one of the best actors, the best British actors for sure. He's just so talented, and I think that is something that means that he can just go in and out within a moment, and that's very useful when you're doing something quite heavy. So, I mean, when we weren't kind of doing our scenes and being in the film, it was just very silly and jolly, and that, I think, when you're having a happy time, when you're not in front of the lens, then you can really go there when you are. Interesting. I think something that I think really works with Acre is that so much part of the book is the atmosphere that kind of you felt when I was reading the book, that I could smell the grass and feel the wind. And I think that's something that Dan has been really clever in translating to the screen. So I think it's not just about the plot, but the kind of essence of the feeling you had when reading that book. I find the idea of nature healing makes me happy, but also quite frightening, because I don't know if nature healing wants us here anymore necessarily. So there's this idea of kind of this beautiful thing that also has the possibility of avalanching. And yeah, I mean, I've always found the sea and storms so frightening because they are just so much bigger than us. I think the genius of Tolkien's world for me is, first of all, that nature is a main character, as with in Starbaker, nature is main character. But also, I'm obsessed with the hobbits because you have to strive for a world where even the little hobbits are safe.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, something we need to remember, that the most vulnerable amongst us must be protected, otherwise we can't call ourselves civilized.